Record the session. Okay, let me start the class. So please let me know anybody having any problem with my voice, whether it is audible or not. So I'll be sharing my screen. So I think you can all see my screen now. So today, as I told you that I'm going to discuss about pandas again, from basic to the advanced level of pandas. So last week I had a discussion with introduction. Even though this week also I'm going to talk about some introduction about pandas, because last week I couldn't record the session. So for to cover those things, so I'm covering from basic to advanced. So pandas is one of the main library in Python where you can do data manipulation, data preparation, data analysis for different kind of work. So you can use the pandas package, and it is most fast and flexible and expensive data structuring library. So it is giving very ease to do any kind of manipulation or any kind of data preparation in Python. So let's move on to the next slide. So once how the pandas is well suited for doing different kind of data. For example, if you have data in your SQL server, how you can extract data from SQL, and if you want to if you have a data with unstructured, so how can I convert those data into structure? And if you have in CSV format, Excel format, there are some changes you want to do in rows, columns. So these are all the things you can easily do using pandas. Apart from that, you can do statistical tests like mean, mode, medium, and descriptive statistics, and some little advanced statistics you can do using this particular library. So as I told in the first class that pandas covers most of 60% work in Python. So that is the reason the pandas is very useful, and it's very flexible library in Python. So these are all the things we can do. If you have missing data, you can impute those missing data with using some technique which is in the pandas. And if you want to insert, delete rows or columns, or if you want to delete data frames, the old data set, so you can easily delete. And you can do alignments. You can do everything with this package. So that's why it is most important package in Python. So these are other things you can. So as I shared with this PPT earlier, so you can go through this PPT. So I think you can understand the basics of Python. So and the data structure. So these are the data structure the particular pandas package having. So if you have data in one dimensional array, so it is considered as series. And if you have two-dimensional array, it is considered as data frames. Means in R also we are calling data frame, means the data frame having rows and columns. So here also the same way we are calling data frame in Python also. And panel, it is three-dimensional array, so it is size mutable array. So you can use for doing three-dimensional analysis in your particular data analysis when you are doing. So then data type in pandas. So these are all the different data type. So I hope everybody remembers. So one of the uh, person asked me in the last week that what are all the different data type in pandas. So these are all the data type which is in the pandas package in Python. So for character variable we are calling as object, and for categorical we are calling as category, and for numeric variable without decimals we are calling int64, and if it is complete numeric with decimal, so that is called as float 64, and if you have date and time format, so that will be a date time 64. So these are all the different data types of pandas. So let's move on to the coding part. So this is what I explained in the last class. So I'm going to cover this and then I will move to the today's coding part. So I think we can cover 70% of the pandas for today's session. So remaining 30% will be covered in next week. So let me import the package, import numpy np and pandas. So it will take little time to import and the coding part. So I'm going to start first the series. So as I told you that it is a one-dimensional array. Series means one-dimensional array. So this is the standard structure of array series. So the if you want to make any series using some numbers, so these are all the things you need to follow. So first you need to call pandas dot series and the particular data. So how many index means how many rows you want and what type of data you want. And if you want to copy that to some other thing else, so you can copy or else you can leave this. So I'm going to create a new empty series. So the pd.pd because I have mentioned called as here the pandas as pd. So I can use this pd instead of writing pandas. So pd.series. So I'm giving the value 4 and index rank 1. So I will just create my empty series. So this is my empty series which I can say. So if I want to do any kind of changes, so it will be getting changing. So if you have data in a array format, so how can I create this into series? So just save that data in particular variable data. So and use a pd.series, you can change the particular data type, so it will be now series format. So earlier it was in a array format, now it is series, so means one dimensional array. And if you want to add so instead of this 0 1 2 3 4, if you want to add some index, so you can easily add index to that particular data. So now it is changed 100 and 101, so like that. And if you want to create a series from dictionary, suppose you have a dictionary variable, so you want to create series. If you want to create a series from that, so you can use you can save those directly in particular variable, so and put it in the series. So it will be converted as a series. So you can see the data type here, it is I'm giving integers. So if you want other things, you can easily give that and it will be created a series from a dictionary. So now this is the series. So this is how we can create a series using the different data structures of Python. So this is same as what I explained in the previous. So if you want to run, so you can, I will just run this thing. So the same thing. And if you want to select some particular data point in particular row, in particular that series, so you can easily, so the first a means the a number is here, it is 0, so it is giving 0, like that for everything you can do. So if you want to run this, so if you want to check from last 3 digits, so it will be giving last 3 values in the day in the series. So, and second is data frame. As I told that it is a two-dimensional array. So it is giving rows and columns. So if you want to, if you have data in Excel format, if you want to convert into a data frame, so you need to write pd dot data frame and it will be converted. Suppose if you import data from Excel, so automatically it will consider that is the data frame. Suppose if you want, if you give the variables and the values directly, so you need to mention that which format you want. So this is the standard format of data frame. So pd dot data frame, so data index, the same thing what I explained for series. So the only thing is changed here, column will be added, means because it is two dimensional. Series having only one dimension, but this one having two dimension. So let me create some data frame. Let's see. So this is the empty data frame which I see. So it doesn't have any values in the data frame, so that's why it's giving zero column and zero rows. So then like that only you can create using some list. You can create a data frame. Suppose I have a list like this 1 2 3 4 7 data. I want to convert it as a data frame. How can I convert this? So if you run this, so it will be converted as data frame. Like that, if you have data with name with a value, so if you want to see, this is my data set now, it is in a list, so I want to convert this list into data frame. How can I convert? So if you use bd.data frame with column name, if you want to give, if you give column name, so it will be created as name and age with the values. Suppose if you want to check the data type, so you can easily check. See, the name is a character, so that's why it is it's showing object, and age is integer because it doesn't have any decimal, so that's why it's calling as integer. If it is decimal, then it will be a float 64. And like that, if you want to create a float one, so you can just change the d type here, float, so it will be changing into float. So now you can see the difference here, 10 is very here 10.0. So if you want to check the data type of that, so now it will be float. Earlier it will be integer, now it will be float. So this is how you can easily do some manipulation with data frame. And if you want to create some data frame, some nd array, means n dimensional arrays are list. So how can we create data frame from that? So I'm going to create a way data nd okay. So I think you are facing problem with opening data of what I the coding part, so I will be explaining in the last. So if you want to create data frame with nd array, so I have variable name and another variable age. So I'm going to save this two variables with the values in the data, uh, in the variable data. So then I will convert this variable into a data frame. So it will be created like as a data frame. It is created as a data frame. So you can see age and name. So if you want to print only the data, so you can understand what is the difference. So this is my data. So if I use data frame, so it will convert it like this format. This is how you can you can easily convert any format elements, any kind of arrays into data frame, any kind of series into data frame. So and if you want to add rows name, suppose you have a data set but you don't have the row name, it is by default it is giving 0 1 2 3. So instead of this you want to give some row name, so how can you give those things in data frame? So let me create a variable, sorry, data. So now it is printed, so now it is in just an array. So if I want to make this as data frame, so use pd dot data frame, and the if you give the column row name, so it will be created as row. So like that you can create for different things. And if you want to select some particular column, so you can easily select. So it will be generating, so it is giving error because I didn't create this. Once I create, and if I do this, so if I do, so it will be create, it will be selecting some particular way. So I'm going very fast for this because I have to cover the today's session, especially this is the last class session what I was done. So that's why I'm going little fast. So if anybody having problem with that, so you can ask that. Means if you just unmute your mic and ask me the questions. So I'm going little fast for this. So I have to finish this and then I will go back. I will start today's session as well. So if you want to add some particular column into a data frame, so you can easily add those data frames. So let me show you this before adding this. So this is my data frame. So I'm going to add one more variable, that is 3 here. So now you can see the difference. So here 2 row, here 2 column, here 3 column. So you can it will be changing. So if you want to create one more, so you can easily create by adding 2 and 3, you're going to create one more variable. So like that you can create, you can delete variables, so you can delete columns, or you can column or variable, so you can do whatever the things, basic thing you can do with this. And suppose if you want to do row selection and all, so you can easily do those things. And basic functionalities, these are all the things. End dimensions, head and tail. So if you want to create, if you want to see the head of that particular data frame, so you can easily check those things. Okay, see, again, this is actually I already done in the last class, so that's why I'm going fast, as I told. So these are all things which I already covered in the last class itself. So this week, because last week I couldn't record whole session, that's why I'm covering this week. So if you want a clear explanation of this, so I'll be recording from, I think, 75% of last session, so I'll be sharing those video also, so you guys can refer those things. So whatever initially I explained, that won't be recorded, so that's why I explained those things. So these are all already in the last class record. So I'll be sharing both the record, means this week and last week, so you can go through, and I think you will be understanding whole thing, what is this and what all done I have, what are the things I have covered in the last class. So so let me go for series basic functionality. So if you want to create a series with 10 random numbers, so you can easily create those things. And if you want to return list of label of the series, so you can use the axis, and you can easily identify the axis, what are all the axes are there in your data set. So see the axes, it start from 0 and end at 2, 4. So as I told in the first class, that the Python considers from 0 to some staff variable won't be considered in the series or whatever the data frame you are doing. So 0 to 4 means it covers 0, 1, 2, 3. So if you 0 to 5 means it covers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It won't cover the fifth value which I mentioned in here. If you give step 2, so it will be creating 0, 2, 4. So like that you can do the basic thing. So as the empty data set, if you want to create an n dimension size, if you want to create, so if you want to check the n dimension of particular uh, series, so you can check easily. So it will give you the dimension of object is 1. So it is one dimension, series is one dimension, so that's why it's giving one dimension. If you want to check the size of the series, it will give the size. So it has 4, so size of object is 4. Suppose you have a data frame or a series, so you want to check the last two row or first row head of that particular means last row, first two row means the head, last row means tail, so you can easily see those things. So it will be giving the first rows of the data series is this and last row is. So this is how you can easily do the functionality with series, and the same thing you can do with data frame. So I'll be explaining this because this is important than series. So let me create a dictionary of series. So these are all the variable in that series. So let me print this. So this is my data now. So I'm going to convert this into a data frame. So now I will get a beautiful structured data. So age, name, rating, width. It is structured now. So it will be giving very good so in a structured way. So if I want to transpose this, how can I transpose? So it will be using df.t. If you print df.t, df is my data frame, and if you give dot .t, so it will be transposing whole thing. Just print it. So now it is transposed. So earlier it is in this format, and now it is converted. The column has converted as rows, and rows converted as column. So this is how you can easily do a transpose of the data frame, and if you want to check the end dimension, so it will be given the end dimension. So as I told in the beginning that the data frame is a two-dimension object, so that's giving that. So if you want to check the shape, means how many rows and columns in your data set, so you can give the df.shape. So it will give, so now it is converted as rows. So 7 rows. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows and 3 columns. So here it is given 7 rows and 3 columns. So this is how you can do some functionalities with data frame. And so let me start about descriptive statistics. So for this, I need to explain the PPT what I have done for statistics. I think this one, yes. So pandas having the features which is in R as it is. So if you want to do counting, you can use a count of function, sum function, mean function, same thing, but using the way of using is little bit different than R. But the coding thing is same, but the way of using is little bit change. So I'll be explaining those things here. So I'm just creating a data frame. So this is my data frame. Suppose I want to do the first column sum. So how can I do this? So it's giving the column wise sum. This column how much, and this column this column. So this is string, so that's why it's adding whole thing. But the Python doesn't know which is means how, means if it is can able to add, so adding the particular value, so it can add. So here it couldn't understand properly what it is, so that's why it's add a whole name which is in that particular area. But for the numeric things, it can easily understand, and it's calculated those things. Suppose if you want to do the row wise, if you give df.sum, so it will give the row wise. So 25 plus 4.23 is 29.23, so it's calculated. So now it is considering only the float value, not it's not going to consider this character value. So this is how you can do some function. This is how you can use some function in in R. We are using like this, so sum of data set or something. So it will be giving, or in some you can use using summary, you can easily identify those things, but here it is little different. And average, so in R we are writing like mean of data set. So here we are using the data set first and dot mean, so it will be giving the average of that particular uh, uh, variables of that particular data set. So now the average age of means average age of this data frame average age of in this data frame is 31.83, and for rating it is 3.74. So like that, if you want to do standard deviation, so if there will be any null value for column, so what will be the so if it is null value, so it will consider means when you are doing the statistical things, if you are having zero value in that particular variable, so it considers zero also, but it is going to divide the sum divided by the total number of observations. So here also it's doing the same thing. So the same thing what we are doing in manually, the same thing Python also doing. But here we are not spending too much time, but manually it will take some time to do all those things. So standard deviation of the each variable. If you want to check median value, so you can easily print using the dot median. If you want to see the summarize, means in our summary of summary of data set we are using. So like that, here we are using df.descriptive. So it will give the complete idea, means interquartile range, 25% quartile, 50% quartile, 75% maximum, minimum, standard deviation, mean, count. So everything it's giving when you mention describe will give. Suppose if you want to check the type of this data set, so it will giving, so it is data frame. If you check just df, so it will give the overall data, and if you give the type of data it will give, and if you give d type, so as I mentioned in the first class that d type is different than the type. So d type means it is giving the type for each variable, type giving only the what that particular data set is representing, whether it is data frame or series or something. So it's going to explain like that. So let me go back to today's session. The first thing is the functions applications. So now I'm going to start today's class. So this is important. So let me cover. So functions applications. For example, while you are doing data preparation or data analysis, you want to do some functionalities with rows or columns. For example, if you want to add 2% or 3% to some particular variable, some particular rows or some particular overall table, if you consider data set, you want to do some kind of stuff with that particular table. So how can we do those stuff in Python? So using pandas. In pandas there is option that function applications. So these are all the different function applications we can do in pandas. So the first one is about table wise function applications. So if you want to do some kind of stuff with table wise, for example, you want to add 200 rupees. Suppose you have data with age, salary, or something else, expense something. So for whole data means the age, salary, expense, the whole you want to add 200 rupees. So earlier it was some values for each variable, but you want to add 200 with whole thing. So how can we do that? So using table wise function, means using pipe function, so you can do those things. So if you give pipe dot some variable what you want to do, so it will give it will add those values into the data frame, and it will give the complete updated value of that particular data frame. And like that, if you want to do for particular row, so for example, the first row I want to add 200 rupees. So I have a data set, the age, salary, and expense, the variable, and I can give the names, the employee detail. For that, the first row I want to add 200 rupees. Second row I want to add 300 rupees. So using apply function, so we can do those things. So I will be showing once I enter into the coding part, so that time you will be clear this thing. So and column wise, the same thing what I explained. For example, salary. So this month, this year I got 30 or 50% increment. So how can I add those 50% into particular salary variable? So using this apply function, you can add those things. And if you want to do element wise, for example, the first row first column value, I want to add something. So using apply map, so you can do those things. I will be explaining in the coding part, so I think you will be clear. So let me import the package again. So table wise function application I'm going to do. So before that, I'm going to define a function that's giving, if I consider two variable a and b. So if I create a function for this, it should give me a addition of those variables. So this is two value a and b. So I'm creating function. If I create this function, the answer should be, means the return should be the adding of those values are to number. So I have defined a function. So let me run this. So now my function has defined. My function name is adder. So I'm going to create a data frame with a random number, 5 rows and 3 columns like that. So the 3 columns should be column 1, column 2, column 3. So I'm giving the name for those things. So let me create a data frame. So this is my data frame, which is having column 1, column 2, column 3, and these are all the different rows which I can see in my data frame. Suppose if I want to do the function which I created, how can I do? So for example, this is my data frame and pipe. So I have, as I mentioned in the PPT, that pipe function I can use. Pipe I used here, and what I want to do with pipe. So what are all the things I have to do? So I want to do this function for all data frame with adding two value. So means I want to add two value for all this thing, the overall data frame. How can I do? So if I do this, it will be adding 2. So minus 0.841140. So if I do it 2, 2 means 2 minus this, so this will be the value. Like that it is added for, means 2.14, 2.14. If I add 2 for this, 2.69, 2.67, like that. So it is added for all the observations, means without considering rows and columns. It's doing the stuff for whole table. So this is how you can use the functions for this particular data frame. And the same thing, the same function applications, if I want, we did not give two values to the function. Yes. uh, okay, I think still you were not yet clear with the function. See, I'm going to define a function with the name of the function is added. Okay, what it is doing, if I give two value 1 and 2, so the result should be 1 plus 2. So I have defined my function, my means according to my request. Okay, so I have defined that particular function. So if I define all, if I define this function and if I want to use this function, so I can use it here. So what I want to do, uh, I'm going to do some stuff for the table with a pipe function, and this is stuff I want to do. What I want to do, so this is adder. What it is doing, one, if I give two function, so it will create uh, two value, means the adding of those. So here adder, this is a function what I want to do, and means this is how I want to do that function. And if I want to do this stuff for this value and this value table, so that's why I use the d of here. This is one value, means this is a, if you consider this is a and this is b. So these two functions are making that particular thing happen. I hope now it is cleared. So I will be moving further. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay. So if I want to do the same kind of stuff for row or column wise function application, so how can I do those things? So column wise operations. So I can first I will do column wise operations. So as I told that I already created a data frame. I think I don't need to create again. So I will use those function only. So I have a data frame, and I'm going to I want the mean of each column. Okay, np dot mean each of column. So how can I get that? So using the apply function, I'm going to apply this function to this data frame, and this thing I want, these two things I want. So if I use this, if I click on this, so the first column, the average, the mean of the first column is 0.26250. So if you calculated this, so that value will come. If you add this thing and divided by 5, so it will give this value 0.2625. So like that. So if you want to do it for column 2, column 3, so you can do those things. So the data type it is showing because it is having the decimals. That's right. So then if I want to do same thing for row wise, see by default if you didn't give an access here, if you give access equal to 0 also, the same thing it is going to do. Okay, if you didn't given also, it's doing the same thing. Means by default it is doing column wise operation. If you want to change that operation into row wise, so you need to give the axis 1, axis 0 for the column, axis 1 for representing the row wise operations. So if you give this, it is going to give row wise. So what it is doing, it is calculating the it is making means it's finding the sum for this whole row divided by 3. So the average will be coming like this much point minus 0.301. So if you have doubt, you can do with the calculator. So I think it will be that time you will be clear those things. And suppose I have a function, what I want to do, I want to do that in my column, I want to identify the maximum value and I want to find out the minimum value. I want the difference for whole data frame. So I want to find out maximum minimum value of that particular column. So I have written the code like I have written the code like this format. Now it is giving the maximum. So what it is doing, here I have value. So this is my maximum value, this is minimum value. So what is maximum here? 2.6. What is minimum here? 1.15. So it will find out the difference to this two and it will give column 1 this difference, column 2 this two, like that. So if I give this df dot, so you can check this. So what it is, why it is giving problem. Okay, so I think everybody can hear my voice clearly, I hope. So I'll be continuing like that. So it gives the difference of maximum minimum value for column wise. So you can do manual calculation also with the particular data frame. And the element wise, so as I defined, for example you want to do some element wise means in column. So I want to do some particular steps, means for example in the column 1 I wanted to do the the particular value with 100. I want to multiply the particular value with 100. So it will give, see it is in that column, in this, where is that, yeah, this column is multiplied with 100, this whole column. So it's multiplied with 100, so the result is giving like this. So like that, if you want to do for group operation, so for single operation you just mention that data frame and the column name and map you did. So if you want to do the whole thing for the whole columns, you just use data frame dot apply map. So it will consider that I'm going to apply something for whole mapping. What are all the mapping, means what are all the columns are there in my data frame. So it's capturing those things, so and it's identifying. So it's done this operation for all the observations in the particular column wise. So this is how you can do group operation with this. So for re-indexing, so let me go back to the PPT. What re-indexing means, what it is, and let me explain. So re-indexing means if you want to do changes of row label and column label of data frame, means you have a data of 7 rows and 3 columns. So now you want to change the labeling of that, and you want to convert into 7 rows and columns. So how it is transposing that, means for example I can use a transpose, but it is not actually transposing. The indexing means it's not transposing. So I can means some in some instance I can say that this will be like transpose, but it is not actually. So these are all the different operations we can do in the reindexing. I will be means once we move to the coding part, I think you can easily understand what is reindexing. So if you want to reorder the existing data to match a new set of labels, so if you created two data frame, one is 6 row 3 column, another one is 2 row 3 column. So now you want to convert my first data set as like second data. Means first data set having maximum rows, second data set having less maximum column. So means opposite. So I want change the data set 1 based on data set 2. So in that situation we can use the reindexing, and you can do so that time you will get the NA values. So how to treat those NA values when there is no data. So this is about the reindexing. So let me go to explaining this. So what I am doing, I am creating a data frame with n equal to 20 observations, because here I didn't given values. I used one number, so that's why I defined n equal to 20. So instead of here I can give 19. 20 minus 1, so I can use 20. So for my um, ease of doing, so I did it here only. So I gave the value and I used this symbol in my while creating my data set. So this is my data frame which I have created now. So it is having the first variable is date, second is particular row, means if you consider uh, some sugar patient or something, is it high sugar or medium, or if you consider student ranking or something, whatever you can consider, you can, I just give them the name A C D X X Y. So this is what I can say for this. So I want to do reindexing of this. So if I want to do reindexing of this, so what I have to do, uh, I have to use reindex here. So let me enter here. I want index means row name 025 and column only ACB. I don't want this XY. I don't want this 025 means uh, I don't want 1 3 dot. So it will be giving the data frame without having 0 1 3 4. So I got only the row of 0 to 5 and column only ACB. I didn't select this XP. So this is called the reindexing of particular data frame. And if you want to do with some particular two comparing two data set, so I'm going to create one data frame. B column is not there. Where you don't have B column? Yeah, sorry, it should be D. That's why, see, if if in the data frame, if you don't have the particular column, it's giving NaN. That's why it's given NaN. Sorry, I think it should be D. I think now it will be yes. So thanks for informing me, Abhishek. So I was writing code in the morning, so I just went fast. That's why the mistake happened. So, and if you want to do the reindex alignment with other object, means I'm going to create two data frame one, data frame two. So let me create this. So this is my data frame, first data frame, and this is my second data set. So what I want to do, I want to do reindexing like DF2. So I have a DF1, DF1 having 10 rows and 3 columns. It's having 6 rows and 3 columns. I want to change those things with this DF1. I want to do reindexing like DF2. So now DF1 will be converted as 6 row and 3 column. So this is how you can use this one also, DF1. So now DF1 will be changed. So for I use the same data set here, so that's why I'm not going to change those things. And if you want to do the missing cases in the data frame, so let me create again the data frames. So you want to pad that NA values. You want to padding this. You want to adding those NA values to DFM, so it will create. So I converted the data frame DF2 with like DF1, so that's why it's given the NA value here because it's having less rows compared to DF2. How can I treat this missing value? As how can I fill this missing values? So I can fill this missing value. There are three steps. So where is this? Okay, so I think I haven't refer those things. I thought to write some things about this. See, if you want to, there are two kind of filling. One is forward filling and backward filling. So backward filling is by default. Okay, so whatever value you have, see, if you filling value means from here to here, it doesn't have meaning. Means from here to here, how can you n, so it won't give any meaning for this. So if you want to filling after this, if you want to fill, so it will give any values. So this is how you can filling this. So how can I fill those any values? So I'll be using forward filling here method, and this is a df1. This is my data set, and I'm going to do reindexing like this. So if I give method, so it's now, see, earlier it was nan, now it is forward fill. So the same thing if you use for backward fill, see, backward filling, it is same thing. So it is filling by means backward it's filling the observation. So uh, for example nan, if you add this, so the same thing. So NaN plus this value, that is value only. It shouldn't be NA. So like that. So it is going backward, adding this data frame. So if you want to filling n values, if you want to give some limit of that filling, so you can give filling. For example, if you I want to give I want to fill only for a second row, this row. So you can give the conditions here. So if I give conditions, see, the second column filled with some value. Suppose if you want to give this with two column, okay, so it will be filling with two, three. So here, 3 is NaN. Now it is filled with two value. So you can give the conditions there, means limit. So it will be creating those things, whatever the functions you want, and then uh, go back to working the text. I think for renaming I didn't write anything. So renaming means suppose you have some variable name, so you want to change those variable name or column row, means, row or column one. So you can easily change those things using rename function. So this rename function method allows you to relabel the axis based on some mapping function. Okay, so let me create a data frame. This is my data frame. So what I want to do now, I want to create a data frame with changing col1 with c1, col2 with c2, and this 0 as apple, this one as banana, and this one as durian. So let's check how it is doing the reindexing, renaming. See, now it is, this is col1, col2, col3, now it is c1, c2. The col3 is same thing, I didn't change it. See, this remaining is didn't change, so these three I changed, so that's why the row name has changed. So using rename function, you can change column or row based on your requirement, and you can do the things whatever renaming you want to do in that particular data frame. So then iterating a data frame. Suppose okay, uh, didn't mention those PPT. Okay, no problem. So let me explain here only. Suppose you have a data frame, you want to do means you want to print something. Suppose you have lakhs of data, but you wanted to print from column Z to AZ, or from column Z to column X to Z. So how can you do those things? So using iterating data frame means iteration. So you can do those things. So as usual, I'm just creating data frame. Okay, so this is my data frame. So what I want to do, I want to print means in the data frame means I'm considering all columns. For column in data frame, I want only the column name. I want to print only the column names. How can I print this? So if I write this code, it will be printing only the column name ACDXY. So this is the result ACDXY. So how can I means what are all the conditions I can do iterative items, or what are all the different things I can do the iteration. So if you consider if you want to do iteration over the items, so you can means the item means the key value, the particular values or the phase which is in the data frame. If you want to do row wise, you can do. If you want to do tuple wise, you can do tuple wise. So let me explain each and every one. So I'm going to do first iterative items, means I'm going to do key value. I have created a data frame with column to the same thing. So now I'm going to do column wise iteration. Okay, so let's check for key and value. So these are all the key function. Key function is the column and that particular value in the iterative items in the data frame. Only I want to print key value, key and value. So let's print this. See, this is my key value, and these are all my values. So it's printing those things what I want. Key value, key variable means the key variable and the value I want to print. So it's printed those things. So this is how you can do column wise iteration in any data frame. For then it is doing processing means this is not means this is not useful for just one time doing. If you want to do the same thing in a repetitive way, so that time you can use a for loop. I hope everybody knows about looping function, means for loop function. So the same thing which is doing here, we are using for loop function, and I'm doing the iterative thing. Iteration means the looping. So for loop here is useful for me to do those things. So see, until unless completing the whole data frame, so it is doing the same thing what I gave here, it is doing for all columns, column 0, column 1, column 2, column 3. So it's continuously doing and it's give the output. So this is how we can use for column wise. Suppose the same thing if you want to use row wise. So I want row index number and row value in the data frame, and I want to print the row index and the row. So which row? So let's print this. See, column 1, the first row index 0 means the first index of row is 0. In column 1, this is the 1. Okay, and column row 2, column, these are the different column and values, and row 2, so this is thing, and row 3, so like that. So it's going to do a looping things for the whole data frame. The same thing you can do for tuples. So as I explained, tuples is a group of things. So for example, if you add if you want to give person name with age or something, so you can use a tuple function. So how can I do with tuple? So let's print those things. See, tuple, it's considering the index and the column values. See, tuple means the index value and the column value. So all columns it's considered. So this is how you can do the iteration or looping function with Python and sorting. Yes, this is also one of the main useful function which is needed for us when while we doing data analysis. Sorting, the sorting data, I hope everybody knows about this word. So say I'm going to create a data, the data frame name is unsorted, means it is not sorted, it is unsorted, it can be anything, it is not as it is descending, or it is not ascending or descending, is different, means it is not it sorted, whatever the way it gives it took the same data. So I'm going to create a data frame with 10 rows and 2 columns. These are all the row name should be. So row name starts from 1, 4, 6, 2, 3. See, 0 here, 2 is here, 1 is here, 4 is here, 7 is here. And column name, call 2, call 1. I don't want in a call 1, call 2. I want call 2, call 1. So it is an unsorted data frame. If I created this, so this is the unsorted way, and I'm going to label this it's by label way. I'm going to sort this. How can I sort? So using sort underscore index, it's going to do the label wise index, means it is sort this index values. So let me run this. See, earlier is 1460, so now it is sorted 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. It is sorted based on the row wise row number. It's given, it's printed the data frame. The same thing if you want to do, if you consider for the if you give the so by default, I hope everybody knows ascending order is by default. If you want to do for descending, so you can use ascending equals false, so means it will give 9 8 7 6 9 like that. So let's print this. See, 9 8 7 6 5 4 3 2 1 0. So it is giving the reverse order, means the descending order. So like that you can do those things. Means then if you want to do same thing with the column wise sorting, so you can do column wise sorting. See, earlier it is call to call 1, now sorted as call 1 and call 2. So it's sorting based on the column wise. So if you want to do okay, by value wise, if you want to sort it, let me create some column 1 column 2 with the data frame. This is my data frame. So now I wanted to sort this by value. So by value is the by column 1. So by column 1 values I need to sort it. Let's sort this. See, 1 1 1 2. It's not considering index value, it's considering the value which is in the column 1. It's not considering anything else. So this is how you can do sorting the values. And the same thing if you want it for different both column. Okay, column 1 and column 2, that is doing like this. It's sorted like this, and once it is sorted, then it is going to sort this way. So now you have a doubt that why it is giving like this, because it is considering the first condition based on the column, then it is considering the values. So if you consider 1, then 2 should be here. Here 1 is there, 2 is there. So like that. So it's going to do. So instead of here, if you give some other value, I think you will be getting idea about this. So working with text, suppose you have a text data, how to work with those. Yeah, these are all the functions so where we can use to do some kind of work when you are having text data. Text data means if you have Twitter or if you have Twitter data, or if you have Flipkart commented comments data means the product what can I say, the feedback, or if you want to do if you have data of survey, and if you want to do something text analytics, text things. So these are all the functions will help you to identify those things. So I will explain each and every functions, and this is for your reference. I have written the description and also what is the use of those things. For example, lower, what it is, so it is converting all the character variable as a lower case, and if you want uppercase, so you can use uppercase and it will create a uppercase. Split if you want to do. So these are all the different functions, around 20 functions you can do with while you working with text data. So let me explain each and every one. So let me go back to my Jupyter notebook. Sorry. So I'm going to create a series with different name. So these are all the characters, and this is a variable and one missing value. See, when you are writing missing value, you don't need to worry. You just give np.nin. You don't need to give anything. It will consider as nin. The data has the series has been printed now. So using this you can if you want to do, if you convert all those things into lower case, so how can you do this? Here first is caps, here first is caps. I converted all these things into lowercase. Okay, so this is how you can easily convert upper cases into lowercase. The same way, if you want to do it for if you want to convert those things for lower uppercase, so you can give this it all things as converted as uppercase. So these are all not the regular functions which you are using while doing data analysis, but the some instant of time it will be very much useful, and that time if you don't know this thing you will be struggling like anything. So please confirm and consider on these things also, because these are also important things while doing any kind of data analysis, any kind of text analytics especially. So if you want to check the row wise the particular value how many uh, words are there, so if you give the particular data frame and string and length of that function, so it's calculating. See first Tom, so it has three word, okay, three letters, and here it is 7, I think 12, 7 12. So like that it is giving the length of each character variable. So see by default it is giving float only. If you let me try whether it is possible to change data if equal to int. Let's try. I don't know whether it will be working or not. Yeah, it's giving error. Okay, let me try. Let's, yeah, it's not possible in this function. So I just tried. So I didn't try it ever. So I just checked whether it is possible or not. We can do this thing. We can convert this as a integer. So if you see some numpy this thing, so you can do those things. So stripping means what stripping is doing. So it's doing the for the each observations it's doing stripping. So let's create a data set. So this is my first data set. After stripping, it is aligned in a proper way and it's giving equal spaces for everything, equal spaces, and it mentions clear and cut. So this is the use of stripping. So this is not that much useful, but just for the explanation I use this. So if you, it will be useful while doing text analytics, not other things. And if you want to split the functions, so using the split option, str.split, so you can split the pattern. See, so this is my data, this is my series. So the first one, this is created Tom and comma, split it. See, it is splitted the missing nothing, nothing is there. It's splitted 1, 2 and 3. It's splitted here. So this is how you can do splitting the particular series. And if you want to add all those things, concatenate. Okay, concatenation, you can do this thing using this separation underscore. So how can you do this? So just do thing. Say Tom underscore William Rick underscore John underscore Albert. So I did the concatenation for the whole string. So these are all my series. Okay, so here before here I want to add one more coding part. So let me print yes, what it is. So this is my yes. So if I want to create a dummy variable for this, so dummy things, how can I create dummy variable for string? So you can use get underscore dummies. So you will get the dummy variable William Y mark. See, William Y mark is available in second row. So it is one is assigned here. In remaining places, this guy is absent. And Albert is present in the third row. So he is absent in the initial three rows. So it's 0. So I hope everybody knows about dummy variables. So this is doing the same thing for character. And suppose you want to mention something in my structure, in my string data. So these are the some particular thing as content. So here I gave only space. If any data is containing the space, so I want to print those. See, the first one didn't have any. Means the first one having space, second one having space, third and fourth didn't have any space. Tom, the first guy, where is that? Tom. This guy having space. Okay, so okay, let me. Okay, so this contents is not for the spaces. So if you give something here, so I think it will be considered as means if means what it is content. So if you mention some e or some value content, so it will be giving those things. It's giving Tom true. Here also space is there. I think this is the that way. Okay, let me check. Yeah. So means if string having some spaces or something, so it's printing as true or false. So let's go to the replace function. Suppose I have at the rate in all word, so I want to replace with dollar. So how can I replace those things? So wherever in my string, wherever in my series, wherever I have a string of at the rate, so I have to replace with dollar. So it will be replaced. So this is the real one. So at the rate is there. Now it is replaced with dollar. So you can use replacing variable like this way. And if you want to do repetitive task, so it will be repeated. So in my data, first Tom, William, Wyman, this is, and here also William. So if you want to create four, okay, so it is Tom, 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 William, William, William. So it is repeated. Means how many times you want to give, it is complete. It's continuously repeating whole thing. And count. This is also for counting the particular letter. So in your data, you have the letter of M. So how many times this letter repeated in my word? So it will give the particular word. So let me print this. See, in first M is repeated one time. Second one M is repeated. See, Tom one time repeated. William Wymark one time repeated. John, there is no repetition, there is no M, so it's 0 0. The like that, if you want to check the starts means the what are all the variables starts with capital T, so it will give Tom only. The first guy started with T, others are not start with T. Suppose if you the letters ends with T, which are all the means which are all the person's name ends with T. So the last guy only I think ends with T. What is his name? Albert. So that guy. So that's is to give true, remaining are false. So the same thing for find function. For example, in your series, wherever E is there, so it will give those E where is means in the particular name where is the E. So it's going to find. So it will give uh, uh, the what should I say index of that particular letter. So E it is in third place of when I considering Albert 0 1 2 3. So E is here 3. So but remaining there is no E letter, so it's giving -1. Means there is no such pattern in the element. That's why it's giving -1. The same thing for wherever I is E is there, find it. So last only in Albert only it's having. So you can give. Suppose if you give wherever M is there, give those things. See the first and second having M, remaining are not having. So like that you can change and you can do this thing. Swap casing. So if you have want to swap, so it will give the swaps. Means first is small, second is caps. So like that. So means mixed of this. So you can do those things. And suppose you have element means word Albert. You want to check whether my in my series is there any lowercase. So let's check that. See, no series starts from lowercase. Okay, you can check here. No complete. See, there is no lowercase. Okay, no lowercase means there is uppercase and there is lowercase mixed of this. Nothing word starts from capital only. Nothing word capital starts from small letter only. So it's giving. Where is that? Yeah, it's giving false for everything. And if I give uppercase, everything in my series is everything is upper, nothing is uppercase because it's mixed up, because it's swap cased one. So that's why it's giving like this. So I want to check, is there any numeric? No, nothing is numeric in my series. That's why it's giving error. So indexing and selecting. So I think last week one person posted one thing about indexing in data science group, that how can I select rows and column whichever I want. So this is I'm going to cover today. So indexing and selecting data. So which row you want and all. So let's explain. So there are three functions. One is location, means dot loc, dot iloc, and dot ax. So these are all the things. These three functions are very important while doing the indexing format and the row wise selection or column wise selection. So it's giving the various movements, label based indexing. Wherever the label is there for index, so it's giving, and it's doing slicing. So means you can how can I say those things, the subsetting. So these are all the different method where we can use dot location. If it is single scalar label or list of labels or slice object or boolean array, so in different formats you can use this location function, dot loc function. So let me explain. See, dot loc is for label based and iloc is integer based. So ix is for both things. So if I start with dot loc, so I'm going to create a data frame. Okay. So this is my data frame. So I want to select all rows for specific column. So this is my column. I want to select all rows with this specific column. So what I want to do, df.loc, dot loc I can use. First I want, so in R what we were doing, we were just uh, df. Okay, so let me use hash function. Df means data frame, uh, the square bracket, we will give first blank and we will give the column name. This is what we were doing in R. What it is considering, if you give space here, means the nothing is here, it considers that I need to select all rows and this column in third column, it will print those things. But here you need to use this uh, this storage. So it will consider that it means we need to print whole rows. So I want first column, so let me print this. So it's printed the first column of A column and all rows. And suppose if you want select multiple column, all rows. So the same thing you can do. Dot loc, first select the column. So the same thing if you want to do it for a few rows and multiple columns. So you can do those. So these are all the different rows. A, B, F, H. I want only A, B, F, H, and these two columns. So restriction. So I think this is what one of the person asked me in the group, that how can I select this thing. So that I told that use this double bracket with log function. So I don't know whether it's done or not. So this is how you can select rows and columns. And coming to the range you want to select. So it will be means if you want to give the complete rows means range, you don't want complete rows, so you can give this way. It will print all the column with row which are on the row you want. So this is how you can do the use a dot loc function. So see in your data, so for boolean, so this is my first row. In that first row, wherever greater than 0 is there, that only should be printed. See, first row, this is greater than 0, this is greater than 0, this is greater than 0. This C is less than 0. So that's why it's considered false. So the data type also boolean. So the same thing iLook. So iLook function also the same way you can use, but it is mainly useful for an integer where you are having integer value and list of integers or range of values. So these are all the way you can access this dot iLook method. So let's okay. So I think one more slide is left. So I will create a data frame ABCD. So different row. Suppose I want specific range of rows. I want rows till 2. So I can use iLook df.iLook. See, as I told, if you didn't mention this print function also, it will work. Okay, so for your understanding, I'm just using print function. Without this also, it is working. If I print this, see, it's selected 0 1 because I want only till 2. If you give this with row, so this is I explained in NumPy package, NumPy library. You can go through that if you didn't understand again this, what it is. 0 and 1 selected, the 0 row means 2 rows, the initial 2 rows is selected for all columns. So the same thing if you want to do for the row wise and column wise. So I want 1 to 5 row and 2 to 4 columns. Let's print this. See, 2 to 4 means C and D. Okay, so 0, 1, 2. This is 2 and this is 3. So fourth column will not be considering. So this is how you can print. So the same thing if you want to do the slicing, so you can do for the others. So if you want only the row wise with all column, row wise with all column. Okay, let me write it here because for your understanding. So row wise. Okay, first 3 rows with all columns. Okay, so it will give all rows, first 3 rows and all columns. So if I print this, same thing if I want to give all rows with first 3 columns. So this is how you can print this. So it's printed all rows with column. Okay, so the last function is .ix. So pandas provides different method. So like that, ix is also useful for both the things. So slicing, you can do it for the so first 4 rows I can select with the slicing option. So it is calculated. See, the first rows is selected with all columns. So it's doing continuously for rows and columns. So this is useful for while doing the large data analysis. So and if you want to select the same thing, means all rows with particular column, so you can use I. So there is little bit difference with look and iLook. So if you need to understand clearly, so I think you just need to go once again the coding, so I think you'll be getting whole idea about it. So I think that's all for today's session. So this is how you can use a notation for different type, means different type of data frame, means different type of pandas data structures. So if it is series, so you can use yes, means this is the data frame and this is the location using the indexer. So it will give scalar value. In data frame, if you use the same thing, it is giving location. That if you give df dot look, it's giving, you need to give row index and column index. Series object, it's giving series object. So like that for panel, panel is a three-dimensional array. So this here you need to give whole thing, means item index, measure index, what is the measure index, and binary index. Means this is a overall array, and measure means start, where it is start and where it is end, means where it is end and where it is start. So these things you need to give. So that's all for today's class. I hope everything is clear. If you have any doubts, so you guys can ask me the questions, so I can answer those.